Thank you for joining my presentation for week 6. I apologize on its tardiness. I feel like I answered the simulation incorrectly, and it greatly deterred me from completing this project. So, here I have compiled the 10 actions that a leader should take to lessen the impact of a crisis. To lessen the impact of crisis, leaders must command the space and lead with grace. Crisis leadership means two things. One, to contain the crisis, meaning to calm the feelings of panic in stakeholders and staff. This requires them to use referent power, which helps them to reassure people that the situation is going to be handled. The second part of crisis leadership is to interpret what is happening. This means to look and explain every factor and every decision, as well as having your employees' backs if the crisis was caused by one of their mistakes. The 10 key actions leaders need to know to lessen the impact of crisis include leading by example, avoiding biases, regulating and having skills of self-regulation, keeping their emotions calm, using technology, having digital mindfulness, having a set communication plan, addressing the stress of the event and its toll on those affected, and evaluate the systems used for future improvements. So the first two skills go hand in hand, leading by example and avoiding biases. Some commonly known biases to avoid include the confirmation bias, in which we hear what it is that we believe and that we're looking for that confirms our current position. The bias of conformity, being swayed by others. Maybe this is for status, profit, or reputation. And the contrast effect of comparing two people, products, or systems. These are some of the biases that we want to avoid having when we're inspecting and interpreting a crisis. Leading by example, if we eliminate our biases, then we have more access to our self-regulation, and we can lead by example by responding instead of reacting. Leadership by role model, that is the good example or the good shepherd, also known as referent power, previously mentioned, is the best way to support and promote ethical values, according to Nygaard et al. On page 134. When leaders lead by example, they assure their community and stakeholders that they have a handle on the situation. Calm minds find calm solutions. Speaking of keeping calm, our second two actions, which are keeping your emotions calm for yourself and the group, and self-regulating. A huge part of both of these aspects is knowing the difference between reacting and responding. When we react, we're reacting out of our emotions. Some of those biases previously mentioned can be at play. But when we respond, we are more logic-based, problem-solving, future-oriented. We think about how our biases and emotions are at play and then weigh them on the scale with logic and reason in order to respond. Upchurch 2019 explains that the way a person perceives something can dictate whether they react or respond, which is why we must work towards assessing everyone involved and seeing if they are reacting and responding before we respond to them. If we determine that another party in the conflict is reacting instead of responding, we may need to give them some more time to process, to see the discourse from a distance, and decide to respond instead of react. So it's important to take our time and pause to process, not rush through conversations. Next, we have the 3 Ps: posture, patience, and practice. The skill of mindfulness can help leaders develop a strong, peaceful, and agile mind, which creates agile responses to conflict. Ingham 2019 suggests the 3 Ps we have here. This will help expand one's mindfulness. Creating a practice of patience and mindfulness can help one to control their reactions and instead respond in order to handle the conflict. Technology. How can we use technology in response to a conflict? Well, we'll get into that, but when we do, we need to incorporate digital mindfulness. Leaders can rely on Shaw's 2021 list of 4 key factors to maintain digital communication competency, which includes becoming a collaborative digital leader and designing a digital culture by educating staff, prioritizing digital ethics and data security, as well as re-examining the relationship to digital communication. So the first 2 pieces that we have here from Shaw, becoming a collaborative digital leader and designing a digital culture, all surrounded on the vision and purpose and intent of the organization, can be used to handle a crisis in multiple ways. First, it can be used to make an address to the public. Second, it can be used to hold a record of the addresses to the public prior, during, and post-conflict, which can be help to hold the organization accountable for its achievements in communicating publicly. Using technology as a platform to address issues can help make lasting statements. And the way that we handle conflict and communicate publicly will stick with our reputation. So when you do it, be mindful. Which leads us to the importance of having a communication plan and to address the stress. The positive methods for reducing resistance to change are a continuous communication, involvement, training, empowerment, financial and non-financial motivation, counseling, support, and negotiation, according to Bradun 2015. So the importance of having a communication plan is, as prior mentioned, when we make digital statements into the world, that can stick in stone. And it's very hard to change one's reputation if there is a miscommunication, a misuse of words, even sometimes a misspelling. So when we address conflict, we need to have a communication plan. Who are the people that are responsible for talking to the press? Who is not supposed to be talking to the press? And what are certain things that we should and should not say? This was a huge key factor of the simulation, and there was much training provided around what things we should and should not say and who was the point of contact. It is also important to address the stress that the crisis has caused, especially in the case of the simulation, where there were so many people affected by the salmonella outbreak from our food products. It was key to improving stakeholder morale and for the reputation of the company to continue to succeed, that the company addressed the stress that was caused. I personally, as a leader in this simulation, said that there would be steps taken in order to financially support the families due to the loss of income or hospitalization bills that they acquired due to the manufacturing issue in our company. So both of these are definitely important action plans. And then the last tool or step here that I've brought into play is to evaluate the systems that were used. So when we are done with the conflict and throughout the conflict, we need to be thinking about how successful are these steps that we're implementing, because the first response is not always the best response. And it takes a very mature leader to be able to look back on what has been done and what did or did not succeed. Below, we've got listed some questions that can be used as project metrics. We can ask if the steps in our response plan and our crisis management plan adhered to the timeline or the timeliness in which we wanted to respond to the public, say, for example. If the crisis management plan fit into the established budget. If everybody had completed the necessary training in order to know how to respond to the crisis, or if there's gaps in our crisis training programs. Did we meet our milestones and goals? Did we do the things that we need to do and that we know create a healthy management of conflict? And was our communication followed through and implemented the way that we desired? If we're unable to look back and grow from our mistakes, then the company is not a learning organization, and it won't be innovative, and it won't know how to deal with problems even bigger in the future, or potentially solve them before they come. Thank you.